Welcome back. This is being filmed on February 16, 2016. Our guest in this segment of Citizens Forum is Brian Burchill. Brian is with a group in Victoria called ARREST, and ARREST favors the current system of sewage treatment in the oceans. Maybe I'm putting that not as well as it could be, but
natural
Brian.
Marine treatment. Yes.
Natural marine
oceans,
treatment.
Some regions of ocean, particularly off Victoria waterfront, are capable of very effective sewage treatment. And that's not ARREST's opinion. I mean, that's known around the world in the studies of sewage treatment in general and studies of the ocean, is that there are regions that are capable of replicating land-based secondary treatment of sewage.
In fact, doing better.
In some cases better, yes. It's the preferred method in some cases.
Now, the local scientific community that studies oceans, I think, agrees with your position.
Well, the other way around is that we are taking to the public the studies and the views and the conclusions of the science community. They're not agreeing with us. We're bringing forth their information. In our view, the mainstream media is not bringing that kind of information forward well enough, and the CRD also is not bringing it forward to the public about how well the current system works, how well our tax dollars have been spent to build the system that we currently have, to monitor it, to adjust it, to add things like the source control program that was added in the 90s, so that we're not putting, or we have the opportunity to not put deleterious substances into our drains. And people are on board with that. People are happy to find out there's someplace else to put substances rather than putting them down the drain.
We're often criticized, the media tells us, by Washington State. What do their marine biology scientists say?
Good question, because the complaints that we get from Washington State are from the politicians, not from the scientists. The marine scientists in the University of Washington have been part of some of the studies that are published here. There's one back in the middle 90s that involved the scientists from UBC, UVic, and from University of Washington. And they concluded that the effect of Victoria's discharge system on the Strait of Juan de Fuca was negligible. That's not my word, that's the scientists' word, negligible effect by our treatment system.
So the point that's being made here is that there is another possibility that should be on the table as this sewage treatment discussion moves. ARREST put a full-page advertisement, which was an open letter to, was it to Prime Minister Trudeau?
That's correct.
Okay. What was in the full page? Where was it, in the TC? I remember seeing it.
It was a full-page ad actually in Black Press and in the Times Colonist.
Okay. I remember seeing it. I can't remember what it said, so maybe...
Well, the gist of it was we gave lots of the evidence, or some of the evidence, that shows that the current system is working very well, such as, just for example, there's been not one case of illness that's been caused by the discharges on our waterfront. There's no threat to human health. There's no threat to the fish and the fish environment, which actually are objectives of the new federal regulations to protect fish environment, and human health. And so we pointed out some facts, some quick facts. We couldn't go on at length about it. And then we asked for, therefore, the federal, the applicable federal department to review this situation and to withhold federal funds pending a review of this whole situation. The regulations have some shortcomings in them, and they should be reviewed. And as the scientists have been saying before these regulations came into effect, was that this one-size-fits-all policy of the same treatment system right across the country is incorrect.
So you mean if our sewage was going into a river, that is considered the same risk as our sewage going into the ocean?
It's almost, yes. Yeah. You raised a good point. The federal regulations are written very much about discharges into fresh water.
So basically, it's very possible that we do not need sewage treatment. What was
we
the response?
have sewage treatment.
Yes,
It's the matter of method. This is
what was the response from the federal
the
government?
terminology that we don't treat is wrong. We do treat.
Yes.
We're using the ocean. The ocean waterfront here has the conditions of like a large digester pond in land-based treatment systems, where they aerate the water, force oxygen into it, and promote the growth of microbes and keep it stirred up and so on. And that's what we have here in the Strait of Juan de Fuca. It's just like a huge digester pond, which, by the way, is being run free. The energy of the tides is what drives the treatment process, which the World Bank has called auto-purification. And that process is clean, reliable, safe energy of the ocean tides, rather than land-based systems it'll require big pumps and lots of electricity. We have a very low carbon footprint system that is doing a very good job of treating our sewage. And the constant monitoring is constantly showing that the system is working very well.
And we just happen to be in a place where this works. It doesn't work in a lot of places, but it works here.
It works here. They're one of the places. Guernsey is another example. San Diego is another. There are examples around the world where the long deep sea outfalls have been carefully engineered. The local environment has been carefully studied. And it's not just being dumped into the ocean. That's what we constantly hear is we're dumping raw sewage. It's a very carefully engineered system based on U.S. research, a lot of U.S. research. This isn't just something that we are just trying to get away with. This is a carefully engineered system based on research out of the United States at University of California at Berkeley and California Institute of Technology are the two prime sources for the research behind the system that we have designed here.
What was the response from the federal government to
the federal government was that we got responses from the immediate response from the Ministry of the Environment. We got a response from the Minister of Infrastructure, and we also got a response from the Prime Minister's office. And the Prime Minister's office said that the letter was received, they acknowledged received, it's been reviewed, and the Prime Minister's office has passed our letter along to the Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Infrastructure. So the Ministry of Environment and Infrastructure received the letter directly from us and now have also received it from the Prime Minister's office. And that we consider to be a very important signal that it's been sent from the Prime Minister's office, because we also know the Prime Minister is aware of this issue, personally aware of this issue. He's been here in the 2012 by-election. He was educated on this issue by David Anderson and by the candidate in the 2012 by-election. And Justin Trudeau, now Prime Minister Trudeau, was quoted in the Times columnist. His summary of the issue was that this is a case of a push of ideology over scientific evidence. And the other thing he acknowledged was that this there'd be no net environmental benefit from this secondary treatment plant. That's his view of it, and he has not made any public statement otherwise to say that he's backed down from that view. So presumably that's still his view.
So it is possible then that the timelines that we keep hearing are driving all of this may not be in existence, really.
Yes, that's my understanding. Is Prime Minister Trudeau, again, go back to him, he's issued the ministerial mandate letters, and I've read them, they're online. I've read some of them, and particularly the one to the Minister of Infrastructure. It says right in it to remove the P3 screening process, which means to not hold up funds for infrastructure projects. So the CRD is saying that we have this deadline of March 31st, which is creating a lot of pressure. People are complaining about the decisions maybe are being made too fast. And it's because of this March 31st deadline, which is a P3 Canada deadline, which maybe doesn't even exist anymore. That may be now gone with the screening process gone.
But we don't know.
Sorry?
We don't know if it's gone.
We don't know if it's gone or not. But certainly we see the ministerial mandate letter saying that remove that process. So that certainly raises a question there.
And remember, we're talking about $2 billion over, $1 billion plus to build and hundreds of millions to
operate.
And for me, the number one issue is protection of the environment. But if we can, if this is doing as good a job as we can do as human beings, then we should look at it. You wanted to... Oh, sorry.
I do want to emphasize, again, this isn't a REST view that it's doing a good job.
Right.
There's the most recent study, and this is very important, is by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, their own study that was presented at UVic just last November. The conclusion of that study, I've read the whole study myself, the conclusion is that the effect of going to the land-based secondary sewage treatment that's required under the federal regulations, the effect on the straits will be negligible. Again, there's that word, negligible change to the straits. And what's really annoying here is that's a Department of Fisheries and Oceans study, and the regulations are in the Fisheries Act. So the same department is saying you got to do this multi-billion-dollar system, but their own studies are saying, but you're going to get a negligible improvement to it. That is...
Could it be any better than that?
Yeah, right.
You wanted to talk a little bit about microbeads, because that's something that's going into our sewage system, and it is something that we have got to get out, get rid of.
It's an issue that people are very concerned about. Studies are showing that we should be concerned. And so there's a move afoot to locally we need to do some kind of a change to our treatment system because of microbeads. Well, the problem with that view is that around the world, it's not just Victoria has microbeads, around the world microbeads are showing up in the aquatic environments because they're in products, they're in personal care products.
It's completely insane.
Manufacturers are putting them in personal care products. But those companies now that are doing that are recognizing this is an environmental problem, and they are voluntarily now saying that we are going to remove microbeads from our products.
They're so nice.
Won't be overnight, it's going to take time. But there are also jurisdictions that are now passing laws, like for example, President Obama just signed the order to now remove microbeads. So it's already by legislation, voluntarily by companies to remove them. So that they're going to be out of the products anyway, and probably within a couple of years, that's what corporations are saying, is that we'll get this, they'll change their processes within a couple of years. So by the time a treatment system is built here, because people are concerned about microbeads apparently are going to disappear from the personal care products anyway.
Brian, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And that's a point of view we should all be considering.